Good morning, students. This is Sridevi. In our last session, we will discuss about the first unit concepts. Today in this session, we are going to learn Unit 2 concepts. Let us see the first concept of Unit 2 is features of a good message passing system, synchronization, and buffering. Before going to this topic, we will discuss about IPC protocol. IPC. IPC stands for Inter-Process Communication. The interprocess communication refers specifically to the mechanisms in an operating system provides to allow the process to manage shared data. Typically, applications can use IPC, categorized as clients and servers, where the client requests data and the server responds to client request. Many applications are both client and servers as commonly seen in distributed computing. And let us see the features of good message passing system. Features of a good message passing system is simplicity, uniform semantics, efficiency, reliability, correctness, flexibility, security, and portability. Let us see the first feature in good message passing system is simplicity. Simplicity means is a state or quality of being simple. Something easy to understand or explain seems simple in contrast to something complicated. And coming to a message passing system should be simple and easy to use. It must be straightforward to construct new applications and to communicate with existing one by using the primitives provided by message passing system. Another feature is uniform semantics. Semantics means the meaning of words, paragraphs, and sentences is called semantics. In a distributed system, a message passing system may be used for two types of inter-process communication. They are local communication and remote communication. In this local communication, the communicating process are on the same node, and remote communication, which the communicating process are on different nodes. Semantics of remote communication should be as close as possible to those of local communication. And another feature is efficiency. Efficiency means it's clear. Efficiency. An IPC protocol of a message passing system can be made efficient by reducing the number of messages exchanges as far as practicable during the communication process. Some optimizations normally adopted for efficiency including the following: avoiding the cost of establishing and terminating connections between the same pair of processes for each and every message exchange between them, minimizing the cost of maintaining the connections, piggybacking of acknowledgement of previous messages with the next message during a collection between a sender and a receiver that involves several message exchanges. Efficiency is nothing but an IPC protocol of a message passing system can be made efficient by reducing the number of message exchanges. Another one is the reliability. A good IPC protocol can cope with failure problems and guarantees the delivery of a message. Handling of lost messages involves acknowledgement and retransmission on the basis of timeouts. A reliable IPC protocol should also be capable of detecting and handling duplicate messages. In distributed systems, reliability are prone to different catastrophic events such as node crashes or communication link failures. Such events may interrupt a communication that was in progress between two processes, resulting in the loss of a message. Another feature is a correctness. This is the most important feature in a good message passing system. Correctness is a feature related to IPC protocols for group communication. Issues related to correctness are as follows: atomicity, order delivery, surveyability. In atomicity, it ensures that every message sent to a group of receivers will be delivered to either all of them or none of them. In order delivery, it ensures the message arrives to all receivers in an order acceptable to the application. Surveyability. It guarantees that messages will be correctly delivered despite partial failures of processes, machines, or communication links. Another feature is flexibility. Not all applications require the same degree of reliability and correctness of the IPC protocol. In these IPC protocols of a message passing system must be flexible enough to cater to the various needs of different applications. The IPC primitives should be such that users have the flexibility to choose and specify types and levels of reliability and correctness requirement of their applications. In IPC primitives must also have the flexibility to permit any kind of control flow between the cooperative process, including synchronous and asynchronous, send or receive. In this good message passing system, flexibility or many applications do not require atomicity or order delivery of messages. Thus, the IPC protocols of a message passing system must be flexible enough to cater to the various needs of different applications. Let us see the another feature of security. A good message passing system must also be capable of providing a secure end-to-end communication. That is, a message in transit on the network should be accessible to any user other than those to whom it is addressed and the sender. Steps necessary for secure communication included in these following: authentication of the receiver of a message by the sender, same as authentication of the sender of a message by its receivers. Encryption of a message before sending it over the network. It is nothing but that is a message in transit on the network should not be accessible to any user other than those to whom it is addressed and the sender. And final one feature is portability. In this portability, the message passing system should be itself be portable, and it should be possible to easily construct a new IPC facility on another system by reusing the basic design of the existing message passing system. This may require use of an external data representation format for the communication taking place between two or more processes running on computers on of different architectures. Now, let us see advantages and disadvantages of message passing model. Main advantage of this message passing model is much easier to implement than the shared memory model. It is easier to build parallel hardware using message passing model as it quite tolerant of higher communication latencies. The main disadvantage of this message passing system is has slower communication than the shared memory model because the connection setup takes time. Another concept is the synchronization. Synchronization. In distributed system is a collection of computers located remotely connected via the high-speed communication network. In the distributed system, the hardware and software components communicate and coordinate their actions by message passing. In this synchronization in distributed system, each node can share their resources with other nodes. Okay? So there is need of proper allocation of resources to preserve the state of resources and help coordinate between the several processes. To resolve such conflicts, synchronization is used. A synchronization is coordination with respect to time and refers to the ordering of events and execution of instructions in time. It is often important to know when events occur and in what order they occurred. Clock synchronization deals with understanding the temporal ordering of events produced by concurrent process. It is useful for synchronizing senders and receivers of messages to controlling joint activity and the serializing concurrent access to shared objects. The goal is that multiple unrelated processes running on different machines should be in agreement with and be able to make consistent decisions about the ordering of events in a system. In synchronization, another aspect of clock synchronization deals with synchronizing time of day clocks among groups of machines. In this case, we want to ensure that all machines can report the same time regardless of how impressive their clocks may be or what the network latencies are between the machines. See, in case of blocking send primitives, after execution of send statement, the sending process is blocked until it receives an acknowledgement from the receiver that the message has been received. On the other hand, for non-blocking send primitive, after execution of this send statement, the sending process is allowed to proceed with its execution as soon as the message has been copied to a buffer. A computer clock usually consists of three components: a quartz crystal that oscillates at a well-defined frequency, a counter register, and a constant register. In this constant register is used to store a constant values that is decided based on the frequency of oscillation of the quartz crystal. The counter register is also to keep track of the oscillations of the crystal of the quartz crystals. That is, the value is the counter register is decremented by 1 for each oscillation for the quartz crystal. When the value of the counter register becomes 0 An interrupt is generated and its value is reinitialized to the value in the constant register. Each interrupt is called a clock tick. That is the synchronization. And to make the computer clock functions as an ordinary clock used by us in our day-to-day life, the value in the constant register is chosen so that 60 clock tick occurs in a second. For example, in Unix, time begins at 0000 on January 1, 1970. At the time of initial booting, the system asks the operator to enter the current date and time. And the system converts the entered value to the number of ticks after the fixed starting date and time. At every clock tick, the interrupt service routine increments the value of the number of ticks to keep the clock running. Processes using blocking semantics, the communication is said to be synchronous, otherwise it is asynchronous. The main drawback of synchronous communication is that it limits concurrency and is subject to communication deadlocks. That is synchronization. And another concept is buffering. In standardized message passing model, messages can be copied many times from the user buffer to kernel buffer. Kernel buffer means the output buffer of a channel. From the kernel buffer of the sending computer, it means process. To the kernel buffer in the receiver computer, it means the input buffer of a channel. And finally, from the kernel buffer of receiver computer, process to a user buffer. In buffering can be following types. Null buffer. It means no buffering. And following types are single message buffer, unbounded capacity buffer, and finite buffer. Before going, these types are: what is null buffer? In this case, there is no place to temporarily store the message. Hence, one of the following implementation categories may be used. The message remains in the sender process, addresses, space, and the execution of the send is delayed until the receiver executes the corresponding receive. The message is simply discarded and the timeout mechanism is used to resend the message after a long time period. The sender may have to try several times before succeeding. This is the message transfer with no buffering, single message buffering, and multi-buffering. In this case, there is no place to temporarily store the message. Hence, one of the following implementation strategies may be used. The message is simply discarded and the timeout mechanism is used to resend the message after a timeout period. The sender may have to try several times before succeeding. First type is single message buffering. In the single message buffering strategy, a buffer having a capacity to store a single message is used to receive notes. This strategy is usually used for synchronous communication. An application module may have at most one message outstanding at a time. And second one is the finite bound buffer or multi-buffer. In this second method, system using a synchronous mode of communication use finite bound buffers, also known as multiple message buffers. In this case, message is first copied from the sender process memory into the receiving process's mailbox and then copied from the mailbox to receiver's memory when the receiver calls from the message. When the buffer has finite bounds, a strategy is also needed for handling the problem of a possible buffer's overflow. The buffer overflow problem can be dealt within one of the following two ways. Before going the two ways, this method introduces synchronization between the sender and receiver and may result in unexpected deadlocks. Moreover, due to the synchronization imposed, the asynchronization send does not operate in the truly asynchronous mode of all the send commands. In this, unsuccessful communication and flow control communication are unsuccessful communication, message transfers simply fail. Whenever there is no more buffer space and an error is returned. Flow control communication. The sender is blocked until the receiver accepts some messages, thus creating space in the buffer for new messages. This method introduces synchronization between the sender and the receiver and may result in unexpected deadlocks. Due to the synchronization imposed, asynchronous send does not operate in the truly asynchronous mode for all send commands. And final one is the unbounded capacity buffer. In the asynchronous mode of communication, since a sender does not wait for the receiver to ready, there may be several pending messages that have not yet been accepted by the receiver. Here, in the asynchronous mode of communication, since a sender does not wait for the receiver to be ready, okay? Therefore, an unbounded capacity message bounder that can store all unreceived messages that it need to support asynchronous communication with the assurance that all the messages sent to the receiver will be delivered. Unbounded capacity of a buffer is practically impossible. In this method, an unbounded capacity message that can store all unreceived messages in need to be support asynchronous communication with the assurance that all the messages sent to the receiver will be delivered. In this session, we know about the Unit 2 concepts, that is, features of good message passing system, synchronization and buffering. In another session, we will discuss some more topics in Unit 2 about DS. Thank you.